Greetings, brothers and sisters.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It has been a while.
It has. I'm really glad to have this conversation.
It is good to be able to catch up. As always, to begin, we are going to give a message. And this one is to our son. And this is regarding recent revelations that he has had. And on the discourse that he was discussing with you about being able to be of service, we will point out that the Bodhisattva path specifically says, once awakened. Once awakened. The first task before each of you, if you seek to be of service, truly dedicated to service, this is my purpose. The first responsibility, the first focus is connection, to awaken, to have the process complete. And if you take your energies and focus them over here, and then focus them over there, and then focus them over here, and you will be surprised how many people pick up the energy of awakening and appear with empty cups. It is why your schedules get so busy. What would happen if you take that energy and place it for where it is intended, within? There are reasons that yogis go to the top of mountains and get holed up in caves, and the only one to see them is appointed people of the temple or their guru to pass them food or to check on their process through a small hole. It is to ensure that the energy that they are generated is given to only one task: awaken, awaken, awaken. Now, there are those, most, who are not on that path. And that is not what we are talking about here. If your intention is to awaken, then the Bodhisattva path is clear. It says, once awakened, I serve, I make the commitment. You cannot commit until you are awakened. And we point to what he put on his arm. Read it again, and then read it again. The first requirement is the silence, and then the rest of the words form. But the first part, once you reach the state of silence, compassion dawns. Without compassion, you enter the world with just awareness without compassion, and it eats you alive. Mm-hmm. It whittles away your peace. It is impossible to stand within the world of insanity without compassion and be of peace. It is impossible to be detached. It is impossible not to create new attachments. And so the first task is to go within our son. Be at peace. Do what you did in South Dakota. Cut the ties. And this seems perhaps selfish. But until you fully awaken, what do you truly have to offer? A mixed message. You cannot be of service on the level in which you intend unless you are connected. You cannot demonstrate connection until you are connected. And most importantly, the requirement, you need to be able to demonstrate the breaking of the agreement. It is time. things have changed. In order to understand spontaneous healing, they must experience it demonstrated. And you cannot reach it from this state of consciousness. No one would be able to. You must connect. That is your journey. That is your focus. And that is not a message from us. We deliver the, so to speak, letter from your higher self. Because apparently, you've been ignoring its messages. And so it has chosen a more direct route. Awaken. Focus. There are things to do, and you are not ready. Correct this issue. And now, we open it to questions.
Awaken, 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 awaken. Thank you. One question, well, I know what I want to talk about, but to clarify, when it was said break the agreement, what does that mean?
The agreement we speak of is that the group mind of humanity vibrates, if you could picture, frequencies that have two set poles.
Yeah.
One is a lower vibration, one is a higher vibration. And we don't use those words in judgment. Mm-mm. In fact, you travel back and forth to a certain density. Translating this into simplicity, you are the goldfish that got put into a bathtub that still only swims the boundaries of its old bowl. The bathtub is open and free, but the goldfish will only swim within the boundaries of its old bowl.
And the old bowl is the agreement.
Correct.
Bingo. Okay. Okay.
And that means, very specifically, that you can only get so worse. And when you go beyond that boundary and act in lower vibrational ways, beyond what society will accept, then they come after you. Mm-hmm. They attempt to eject you from the consciousness. And within the new parameters of the new energy coming through, that pole has been slipping. It is becoming a wider variety of what is acceptable. That wall has been being pushed. And there hasn't been the reaction yet of change back. It is building, but it is being pushed. Mm-hmm. Then we have the other pole, which is, as far as higher frequency matters, if someone was to actually start breaking bread and feed an entire town from one loaf, while it would be certainly entertaining, it would create fear. And so with the continuation of such a demonstration, and continually breaking what you call the laws of physicality, as if they don't matter. Mm-hmm. See the pun?
I knew, that's why I giggled. I saw what you did there, my man.
And in that situation would come the change back reaction. And as we have so clearly outlined before, you have a way of dealing with such individuals. You kill them. Mm-hmm. You eject them from the group consciousness. And so everyone rushes to the middle, like herd mentality, mm-hmm. and attempt to stay away from the edges, mm-hmm. which is why there's that mass of thoughts and emotions that feel so entrapped and trying to break away from it. Because you're literally compressing together in the center of the self-created corral of limitations that you call physicality, that you call reality. Mm-hmm. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it definitely does.
We should add this for those that will listen. Why are we discoursing on breaking the wall? because the needs of the many are going to outweigh the reservations of the few. Yes, we borrowed from Star Trek, but it is appropriate and fits. Changed to our pleasure. Our point is that working within the parameters that you have, you will not have what you need. And in order for those who serve to properly awaken, it is like the example we gave back in the first set of lessons with you. There was a point in time that ice skaters believed it was impossible to do more than a double axel. Scientists even came out and said it was physically impossible. The body is not capable of such a rotation with such a lift and such a speed. And then here came some young upstart and did a triple. And by next year, everyone was doing it. And for the older crowd that was brought up that it was impossible to do, they could not do it. And so they retired. They had one final Goodwill tour and off they went. Now they're getting into quadruple axles and breaking the barriers. Your world is built on this principle, that as soon as someone breaks the barrier of what you call limitation, everyone quickly follows. Because it was demonstrated, they've seen it done. So they know they can. In this time, in this period, in this place, for the needs of humanity and what is to come, it is most important to break the barrier.
And this is that mutation where it's not DNA resequencing. It's a mutation, a physical, biological shift to, like we were talking about, to encapsulate a new consciousness, a new set of limitations, be it a quadruple, quintuple axle, a 3-minute mile, a new state of awareness, spontaneous healing. There's a biological shift that needs to happen.
And we will respond by saying this: there's nothing new about it.
It's going back to our principle where, in order to match the frequency of what we were born into, we kind of de-evolve, is I think how I worded it before. We de-evolve. So we're just, when you say awaken, it's not really awakening, but maybe like a reawakening of genetically, biologically getting back to set point zero and then going from there.
And we are being super careful with our words.
Okay.
Because there are those out there that will create a whole field of, I can awaken your DNA.
Yep.
I can align your DNA. And we will say, there is nothing wrong with your DNA. When you are ready to perceive the possibilities, you will access it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's there waiting. It's a matter of perception. It's a matter of acceptance. The goldfish does not suddenly physically transform into armor mode when it goes past the boundary of what its bowl was. It's still the goldfish. It just perceives a larger world. And based on that perception, different outcomes occur. And once it goes past the boundary, it can't swim back and believe that it's there. So you have what you need already. It's not a matter of having it aligned. It's not a matter of having it transform or activate. The only thing that's required is the perception that you can. When a baby first stands and takes its first steps, do you watch its physical form transform? Does it glow? Does it become like Mario when it eats a mushroom and glows and grows 3 times the size? And then eventually the mushroom wears off and suddenly can walk and then tries learning to run? No. It's a slow and steady progress. And once the body is ready, the baby does it. And so what we are doing is cutting out the spiritual materialism of this aspect. You already have what you need. You are already given what you need. It is a matter of perception. Does that make sense?
Yep, it does. It does. It does, and it's one of the things. I get it. I'm also trying to be careful in discussing, and we don't have to get into it. We can if we want. I don't care. But the whole idea of being a teacher, taking on that title, I don't mind it. I just want to set the precedent that I don't have your answers, because I understand what you're saying. Even having this conversation about DNA, et cetera, boom, great marketing tool. I'll learn to reawaken your DNA. All this bullshit. I'll say it's bullshit. We have it. It's the point of the perception, the point of challenging beliefs and ideas, and looking at, what is knowledge, thoughts, emotions. All this is, if we break away from the conditioning, if you will, it allows openness for something new. I don't know where I was going, but I understand the hesitancy in delving into that, because without a foundational understanding of the nature of our conversations and the lessons, not that they're quote unquote right, the point of it is to wake up, if you will, break the boundaries, challenge what's taken as common sense belief, and seeing that we are more than we have been conditioned to. Without that fundamental understanding, here's a quick fix solution. Come over to my workshop. I'll set you next to a frequency resonator 5000. It'll open up your DNA and you're good. It's just, 10 easy payments of $99.99. I get the hesitancy. Same with my hesitancy of taking on that title. Just at what point do I just own it in front of people without worrying what they do with it? At what point can we take ownership of our conversation and say it as it is, without having to worry what people do with it? Because people will do what they will. And I think this is important for David to hear too. The information you have is great. I know the fear. I know the ridicule. I know I know that fear. I get it. But where, just in an ethical standpoint, whether it be astrologer, a reader, a psychic, a Reiki practitioner, from an ethical standpoint, how much control do we have over, where does our responsibility end with what people do with our information?
A very good question. Now, to begin a foundation on how to handle it.
Yeah, ultimately I want to talk about dimension shifting, but let's go here, because this is going somewhere.
How did we handle you during the first set of courses?
I wanted to point out, David, he didn't talk about pots and weeds. He brought up bowls. So still, no, you don't see the fist bump. I'm putting a fist bump out here. There we go, my man. I saw how you handled. I saw how you did.
Explain it to us then.
You went round and round talking about a topic, and then poked when you felt ready, challenged when you felt ready. You didn't go on an onslaught altogether, and I completely shut down. It was a gradual prod. Lots of, I don't even like calling it patience, but I guess we would call it patience. Sitting there, receiving, being receptive. But it was a careful process. It took a while.
Of course.
But then we go to this whole thing, there is no more time, blah, 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 blah. Not to say not to dismiss it, but there's no more time. Things are quote unquote accelerating. Do we have the time to wear kitty gloves? And it's not fair on my end, because I'm seeing it from this side of the telescope. how can I have that same expectation for others?
Okay. So first things first. When we were dealing with you, the cue that we were taking was from you. We listened to you and we listened to Source because we serve. We did not decide. We flowed with. Big difference.
You didn't force an agenda. You flowed with what was coming through.
Correct. It's an energetic dance. You pull back. The inspiration tells us to poke forward. And so we choose our words carefully and poke forward. Sometimes you push back and the energy clearly said, stay back. Free will. And so it's a dance. While one part of you said, whoa, 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 there is another part of you saying, poke this. And so free will. Balance. And there were other times you drew a line in the sand. And so, free will, balance, which one? And the energy directed us, which one? And in this, what we are revealing and what we are saying is that it is no different than when you are in front of your students and you are teaching. You surrender. You become the tool to which to heal. You cannot orchestrate healing from this level. That is impossible. Separation cannot heal separation. And so you follow like we did. And you demonstrate. That is the path. The other aspect is that there were several times during that discourse, excuse us, series of discourses, that we said, whoa, whoa, stop, hold on. What did you just say? We are greater than you?
Mm-hmm. You said the light, not his light.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Moments like that, then we point out the separation.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it comes down to you handing us your power.
Mm-hmm.
We always said, no, we don't want it. We are not worthy of your power. Only you are. You are the unique angle of God. No one is worthy of your power but you. You cannot give the gift away, but you can channel the source of what is through that angle and follow its will. That is your purpose. To serve. And this you are learning on deeper levels. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so follow the format. Follow the path in which it has been laid. Follow what worked with you.
And let it evolve in Monsour's unique expression as an amalgamation of everything. And it's great. I was talking to my brother today, telling him, focusing my energy and pulling back on the chart interpretations and putting, and focusing on the teaching. I was just telling him how it's wonderful how easily these people, they're like executives of banks and blah, 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 blah. And they're in the military and, blah, 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 blah. And they're so afraid of getting it wrong. And I'm like, first off, I don't give a shit. You're not getting a diploma out of this. You're not getting a degree. This is an open discussion. Well, we don't know anything about it. That's why you're here. So just do it. What if I make a mistake? No one's going to know. I will. And I'll joke, but I'll be secretly judging you. But, just to lighten the mood. But it's wild to see grown adults. And I understand, it's not that I wasn't like that. And still have aspects like that. But it's like being afraid to get it wrong. It's an astrology class. Like, you know nothing about it. That's why you're here. Come and make a mistake. And it saddened me to see that this is what the quote-unquote education system is. Get it right, get graded. There's already a hierarchy created. And I'm being pulled. I'm loving the teaching aspect of it. And why I don't, also another hitting me right now, I don't like the word teach, is there's that, I think people assume a hierarchy already. And I get it. I'm an authority figure in that moment because of my knowledge of the information, but it doesn't make me better than you. My judgment doesn't mean anything. This is a safe space to explore. And I've been finding that it's an amalgamation of our conversations with David, Jim, Krishnamurti, Gurdjieff, N.A., Stephen Forrest, we'll go, Krishnamurti, I said that again. Alfred Krasipsky is just like, and these are people, Dane Rudyard, like people don't hear a lot about, but it's wonderful sharing it and then getting perspectives from the students. One of my favorite is when we were talking about modalities, cardinal, fixed, and mutable, and someone, I'm sorry, David, I don't remember if it was you or someone, if it was Kim or someone else, brought up rocks, paper, scissors. I'm like, that's a beautiful analogy. And it's given me a full new experience of this topic of astrology. Not just astrology, but the mind, and watching it unfurl and watching it change and the aha moments happening. I don't get that with the interpretations. I do sometimes, but in a class setting, it's just like this group of us playing in this space. And it's taking information and then presenting it in my own angle. And then in doing that, stuff happens and my angle shifts and changes. It's like I can't do this alone. There's a point in the isolation and learning, but coming down into the valley is where the magic really happens.
And absolutely. The end goal is to reestablish communication among your brothers and sisters, among themselves, in the same way that you're communicating with us. That's what's making this healing, Monsour, is the interaction, is the exchange of energy. The words are the wrapping paper.
Yeah.
And whatever the focus, whatever the modality, the point is the developing connection from within. And there are modalities being taught that does not lead to connection. It's not intended to lead to connection. It's meant to lead to intellectual pursuits. And there is nothing wrong with that, because there are those on that level that's what they are ready for. But beyond that, for those that say they are looking to go ahead and become conscious, it's about reestablishing and balancing spirit's mind so that it once again communicates and sings and is connected to each other while retaining its unique angle or individuality. It is the brilliance of the beauty of creation that which is created. To have both in the same space, in the same moment, and there's nothing to fix. In fact, it's what makes the moment work. Would the moment be there without a unique angle experiencing and witnessing it? What would be its point?
It's like Does it mean anything if it wasn't received? Step 12.
If the tree fell in the forest and no one was there, would you hear it? Does it make a sound?
Exactly.
Look at the micro and macrocosm of it. We said, what would be the point of the moment if there wasn't an individual angle of God there witnessing and perceiving it, having it flow through?
You can keep what you have only by giving it away. And this is, I understand,
Don't
why you
cut us off.
You come and see us.
Don't cut us off. We were not finished. The point of the explanation is that within that unique moment, you have two things going on. You have the unique angle experiencing that which is. And as we've been saying over and over again, that which is experiencing a unique angle, experience it.
Mm-hmm.
Experience, experience, experience. Knowing, becoming experience. And now we come to you. And so you have the higher self looking to commune with the intellect. And the intellect and the subconscious eventually learns to surrender. It eventually learns that as part of that system of the whole. In fact, it learns that unless it's connected to it, it is not complete. That what it's been looking for this entire time in physicality is that connection. For what reason? Well, when it is reestablished, the higher self is channeled and experienced through that unique angle. And in that moment, that which is the higher self, mm-hmm. the knowing, experiences the experience of the perceiver. And the perceiver experiences the knowing of that which knows. Harmonizing union. And we go back because all of this was within the first lesson, within the first couple of lessons of our conversation with you. And the cycle completes.
Yeah.
Do you see it?
I do. It's been answered before.
But this is on a different level. This is on a much larger vibrational scale. Before was an intellectual concept. Now it's about a possibility of a reality.
Yeah.
One well within your grasp. But the previous steps were necessary.
To get here. Yep. So then why was I cutting you off when I was participating in a flow? Because there was something coming up. And if the words are wrapping paper, was that really cutting you off? You know, just then, did you have a point and did you want to turn this into a lecture or is this a conversation? Because I was just say I was kind of I when you said don't cut us off, I'm like, oh, I thought I was participating in this exchange of words. So that threw me off. That's what that energetic it's like, so what is this, a lecture or a conversation? That's just how I converse. I join in, the words don't matter. I was playing in this and there seemed to be a cutoff. What was that?
That was us taking control because the point was essential. Mm-hmm. If we allowed you to continue, you would have brought us to another field of study.
And so what's wrong with exploring that? But what's wrong with going all over the place? Because I know David doesn't like it, and I don't care if people like this. This is a conversation I'm having with a friend. What's wrong if we? Because if we go to a coffee shop, I'm just going to call it out, David. When we go to a coffee shop, I have so many friends where we just go all over the place, and it's just a magical, wonderful conversation. Conversations with Edna, with my brother, with friends. We'll just go all over the place. If this is a lecture, that's fine. I will come in a different mode. But if this is a conversation, like, it's just me. I go all over the place. So I wanted to know, was that David or is that Ná Théial that cut me off?
That is us.
Okay. But you see, like, I already, there's that energetic cutoff right there. I want to explore that. I know it's not where you want to go, but I want to go there. This is a conversation because that's cutting me off from receiving information.
Okay. When you ask a question and someone, whether it is us or someone else, is preparing an answer and they go into it, to cut them off because you heard one part of the statement and go off to a new subject means you're not actually listening to what it is that they have to say. Now,
so just shut
do
up
we care? No. It's very rare that we say that to you. Mm-hmm. Which means what we had to say was important. It needed to be completed. Because in that situation, if we go off,
we never complete the point.
Bingo.
And so we lost the nugget.
And so at that point, we circle back. And now it is very important to finish making points.
Okay.
We are streamlining. The time that we had to have the casual conversation has shifted, has changed. And it's not that we mind going, because we do a great trip. Mm-hmm. But it is important, if we're making a particular point, that we finish making it. Because it has to do with not just our conversation, but what you are dealing with. And so we will be more direct.
That's fine. I appreciate that clarity because I'm seeing, okay, yeah, there's that sticking point of like, it's what I'm actually even trying to cultivate in these discussions on astrology. Even with David, I catch myself. It's just I get excited. And jump into it. So I wanted to clarify because I did block myself off when that happened. I'm like, oh, what is that?
And we are glad you asked the question. Mm-hmm. And understand, this is a matter of astrological importance. But not everyone's chart is the same. Mm-mm. And it's not fair to ask everyone to keep up with you.
Exactly.
And then get offended when they say, wait, hold up.
Hold up, bitch. Yeah, sorry.
If you're going to take, you should give. And it's not that you don't, because we've never had this issue before. When we've said, wait a minute, let us finish the point.
And I see the Kierkegaard quote, people who do not know how to remain silent do not know how to talk. Staring me right in the face right there.
And again,
yeah,
we don't want to make your style of learning wrong. You take in smidgens of information and then combine them in fusion and learn.
But not everyone does it that way.
Correct.
Yeah.
And this conversation is not just about you.
It's not about me.
There is an importance of finishing the work. Our time is limited.
Okay, I appreciate that. I respect that.
So, but thank you for asking. That is important.
It is.
Now, we do, and in this situation, fair warning, go into a more lecture position for a particular point.
That's fine.
No, this is about free will. And this is about your permission. What would you choose? We can take the essence of what it is that we've been talking about and, so to speak, cut through the bullshit and get to the point and present it in a way that's easier to understand by wiping the windshield clean. Or we can continue with the conversation style and do this as you please.
Let's cut through the bullshit. Let's get to it.
Okay. Then this is, before we do, our son's body has to go and relieve itself.
Thank you. Yep, that's fine. That'll be perfect. So
Would you be so kind as to pause
I would
the
be
video?
more than honored.
Actually, sit. Our son just yelled at us.
It's fine. I have to see if I can pause.
Okay. Rare that I speak on these, but I feel that it's important to actually say something. First, I wanted to point out a moment of hypocrisy.
Hippopotamus.
Yeah, well, that word. Hypocrisy. Spirit just said and set the goal before me for connection that I have to break the barrier. In the first set of sessions, he made it very clear, in fact, vehemently made the example that Jesus was sent to break the barrier, to demonstrate to us the possibilities of our mind. And in response, we killed them. And that they learned that is not the way to do things. That is not an appropriate way to teach. And that they would not be doing that again. And the feeling of it at that time was, we will not send a brother and sister to be sacrificed that way. And this goes back to the first set of lessons that we did for conversations. It was somewhere in there. And so I'm very big on, for the channel sessions, to being scientifically, I approach it scientifically, so that what was true once is true now, true then, true, it remains true. So I wanted to point that out because it brings up questions. Why the difference? Why the change? The other thing that I want to say is connecting with them was a very different feeling today, because normally there's all this space and it's chill. Today it felt like the busyness of an airport lobby. That they're getting ready for something. It wasn't just my group. It was feeling like they're getting ready for something. And the best way I can explain it is, like, for example, like back with there was a mass, and I hate talking about this, but mass exodus, 9/11. There were a lot of ones from the other side there to help those who lost their lives, to assist that transition. We're never alone. So, it just struck me, and I've been asking with the seriousness, because I have to own it, the lessons have been taken as of late. We don't have time. They've made that statement several times now, and what they just did with Monsour as far as a change of course, of conversation, is actually really astounding and important on our side in physicality to take note of that. Because they've always had nothing but utmost patience. And it's not that they dealt with it impatiently or that they are impatient, but they're just being very clear that this time is limited. And Monsour is not an easy person to work with. As you could see, we should be ready, and he's gotten up and out of that seat 3 times now.
I'm cold. I'm cold, bitch.
It's always something, so he's, a bit ADHD, fidgety, and he's that way in his conversation as well as in his physical activity. And anyone that has watched this series knows that.
I'm cold, bitch.
Whatever. So, I'm looking at all this and asking, what does this mean? What is this leading to? And I don't have any answers for you, or I would. But I'm working on faith here. I've been with this group for over 30 years. And the one thing that I can say for certain is that their ability to accurately say when something is going to happen and what's going to happen, if you go back and listen to the lessons, everything going on now, they said was going to happen over 3.5 years ago. They told us we were going to move. They told us why we were going to move. They gave me predictions in my 20s that all happened currently into modern times leading up to where we are now. I've dealt with living with this knowledge since my 20s. Their ability to be able to say what's going to happen and be accurate, because of free choice, does it change slightly? Yeah, absolutely. But is it still hitting the mark of what they said and when they said? Oh. Absolutely. So for me, I'm working on faith here because I've never known them in that sense to be totally wrong. If it was, I wouldn't be doing this. I've got better things to do than sit around and pretending to be a psychic and pretending to be, like this is important. So I'm following through here, but at the same time, I wanted to point out the hypocrisy of their original statement because it brings up questions, lots of questions, and we'll get to them. So, if you've noticed a change of tone and demeanor, so have I. If you've had questions, so have I. But like I said, to me, it's a matter of faith because I've experienced them all this time and they've never been malintent and they've never been wrong. So I'm seeing where this is going. All right. You ready?
Yep. I'm sorry. I was just really cold all of a sudden.
You don't have to apologize.
Oh.
And so we continue. Mm-hmm. And what our son said is wise. It is good to bring those things out into the open. Before we cut through the bullshit, we want to address some of the things he just said, because they are of importance. And this is a matter of service. Within the community as it is, we would not, as one of your brothers and sisters, come through and break the agreement. But as we've been pointing out, things are about to change. And so it's new rules, new way, new timing. Things are different. So therefore, different rules apply. And hence, the new advice. People will not believe it is possible to do with the gifts that they have what we are suggesting, what their workers, their spirit friends, their brothers and sisters, those they commune with, are ready to suggest until they see it possible. It is what will be a catalyst to move things forward. And not into the world public format, to go on a talk show, to present it and do it live for people, for the community, in the community, by the community. Those who are willing to listen and those who are willing to change. As for the rest of the world, it is not their business. And why? Why such a stance? As always, we honor free will. And that's what this is about. What are you willing to have happen here? And so, we continue with our discourse with you, Monsour. There were several points that you talked about teaching, about understanding, about limitations, about ways in which it was being taught, and then about integrity. And so we can allow this to continue on a spiral, to continue evolving. But in this situation, we wish to address it directly, to be able to give our 2 cents.
Can I get a nickel?
Sorry, all out of nickels.
Okay, 2 cents is fine.
So, to give our 2 cents on what it is that you're actually grappling with in the dark, and to be able to say it succinctly so people can grasp it in one place in a better understanding, versus tidbits leading someplace. Does this make sense?
Yep.
And then once we are done, we will convert back into taking questions. So, what we wish to speak about is the modalities and the way in which it is taught. For us, keeping in mind our promise, in the beginning we came through and said, we can take the lofty position to say that you cannot be hurt and you cannot be harmed. But this time, we were trying an experiment that not all our brothers and sisters agreed with. An experiment that there was concern that it could cause damage to the group mind. In other words, have adverse reactions where it makes the group mind worse than when we found it. And what we mean by worse is more limited. Our goal, as always, is to help remove the limitations by showing the truth of who and what you are. And there have been some attempts that have been less than satisfactory. Not all the teachings that have come in, that have been channeled through, that have been sent by inspiration, that people don't know why, but they just started writing, have had the effect desired. Sometimes we found more work to be done than when we started. The group mind, because of free will, is a finicky thing. And so there was concern with our approach. What was our approach? Our approach was that we would meet you where you are at, use the terms you are familiar with, communicate with you in the way that you communicate with each other. See it from a standpoint and agree with you with what you call important. If these are the things that are physically important to you, then why are you doing this to remove them? Their ability to help, support, and nurture. If you say your children are important, then why are you destroying the earth? To be able to meet you where you're at, to commune with you on that level, and then lift it to ours, and then bring it back down. To complete an understanding, to try a new way. to be able to commune and better communicate. And we have upheld that promise. And the promise is that what is happening here physically, since you exist here, or you believe you do, is important. That what you experience physically is important. That cause and effect is important. The choices you make are important. And our philosophy has been, are you aware of all your options? If you are aware of better options, would you use free will to take them? And to actually sit before you and explain them? To break them down, to show the tools, to give the explanation, to explain how to pick them up and use them. Would you choose to use them? Would you choose a different course? And we sit before the one that has conversed with us and say we have had success. We have had success. Now, our issue that we have continually been bringing up with the teachings and the way they are presented today is that it addresses the intellect. Monsour, you have choices of multiple realities. Based on what you think, you choose your reality. You don't have to be in this world that is suffering. You can choose by right of consciousness to choose a different earth reality, all of them laid side by side to vibrate and experience what you wish. If this choice is better, you can choose to be there. If other people choose something more disastrous, they could be there. And you're not part of that. What is the issue with that statement? And we will break it down. The problem that we have with the way that you are being taught is that you don't understand the options. You are not given the full tools. If you don't understand how to power the vehicle that you are in, then how can you enjoy the accessories? Mm-hmm. It's quite simple. And we have made it clear throughout our discourse with you that you don't have the ability to make that change. The intellect cannot make the change. The change must come from a joining and a union. And we go back to the teaching of the tuning fork with the piece of paper and the iron filings from way back in the first series of lessons. It's one of the first things we taught you. You have an inner tuning fork with a piece of paper, and on top of it is iron filings in a disarrayed form. The symbolism is that the tuning fork is the subconscious. The piece of paper is the boundary between the subconscious and the conscious, and the iron filings in disarray is your thoughts and emotions. And you sit and you shift the iron filings, trying to rearrange them into a pattern that you don't clearly remember or know. You know that you know, but it's not intellectually conscious. And so you constantly shift the iron filings, and through the day's events of the energy that you pick up, of what it is that you practice here on earth: separation, fear, hatred, guilt, shame. Those energies are constantly shifting on the intellectual conscious level, those iron filings. So what you attempt to shift and change slides into a new pattern. And you know what you were trying to create, but you can't keep up with the changes. You can't keep up with the influences. And so the pattern makes no sense. Some of you just give up and call this life. You do the best you can with what you're given. That's the best you can hope for. And we have said, are you sure that's the best you can hope for? Have you been given all of your options? And so, each of you can go into that explanation that we have given up so far and say, does that not speak to the frustrated pain that is within? The part of you that just wants to give up. Mm-hmm. Do not the words almost make a part of you want to break out in tears, in sheer frustration, the frustration that you hold and don't speak of to anybody else? Because if you do, they're going to put a I'm happy jacket on you, mm-hmm, and pump you filled with medication. Because it is that intense. That point of being in a crowd and thinking to yourself, I am about to scream. That frustration is what we speak of. And that is your intellectual level. The ego comes into play to shield you from that, the best that it can, to give excuses, to make it acceptable, even if it means lying to yourself, especially if it means lying to yourself. I'll blame myself, because if I blame myself, then I have an essence of control. I could fix it. Mm-hmm. Which is far better than saying, I am in absolute chaos and I can't stand it. And so you guilt, you shame, you continue the patterns, because even if it's painful patterns, at least it's familiar. It shields you from the fact that you are ready to run screaming in the streets in absolute madness. And what is the madness? You don't know. You know that you know, but you can't quite put your finger on it. And so, we have made the point, you've learned to cope with life. And you've learned accessories to cope with life. Weeds and pots.
And bowls.
And bowls. Alcohol. Pills. Obsessive, compulsive, of codependency. Remaining in everyone else's business so you don't have to feel your own.
Media.
So many ways to cope.
Media to connect us.
But not live. Mm-hmm. And why? Because there is no way out of this corn maze. And our issue is that the teachings that are being presented today is being told to that level. And we'll go back to the example. Monsour, just choose another reality. By your right of thoughts, you can choose a new reality. And meanwhile, you're barely coping with life. How could you clearly choose anything, is the question. There was a meme our son saw. And it went, friend, you need to open up more. Response, that's not possible. Friend, why not? And it shows an image of a china hutch, and the bowls, the fine china, has fell over in a stack to the left that fell over to the front so that it was up against the glass.
Oh, my stomach hurts. Oh my God, that's funny.
Because as soon as I open up, it's all going to come tumbling out.
That hurts. Is so funny.
That the only thing that keeps it contained is that I'm closed.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good one. Mm.
And it is an expression of how each of you choose to live life. Many are waking up and changing those ways. Developing a new sense of importance. However, our point is that the information and the way that it is being relayed to an intellectual level. How could Monsour possibly choose a different reality by what it is that he thinks? And what good is what he thinks without the power to shift those iron filings? If Monsour, the intellectual Monsour, had the power to shift those iron filings into a pleasing pattern, do you seriously think he would have not done so already? Do you seriously think you would not have? Do you think you actually enjoy the pain we spoke of? But wait, there's an answer for that. It has a purpose. Does it have a purpose? There are little tidbits that I learned from that pain. Oh yes, there are. There are tidbits you have learned from that pain. And we have said before that if there was not a purpose, you would not be doing it. And now is a time to look at this from a larger perspective, from a better perception, which changes the rules and the way that we speak to you. When you get a higher perspective, a vibrational frequency, it changes what you see possible. And so we go back to the original explanation of the tuning fork. The purpose of this communion, this communication with you, Monsour, is not our words. That is the pretty wrapping paper. It is the intention. And what's the intention? The energy of that which we are comes through our Son, requires his participation so that his tuning fork vibrates, because it needs to be in physicality. And what happens when two tuning forks set to the same frequency, which is the knowing of what is, vibrate? When one vibrates, the other starts vibrating. Mm-hmm. And you have an illumination. You have an understanding. You have a moment of knowing. And this is where, to answer the original question, you turn it around. If the student says the light emanated from there, you take the finger, turn it, and point it here. That was your tuning fork going off. It required my light to vibrate it. I will take responsibility for that. Thank you for the compliment. It's a wonderful thing when you become conscious of self. But the experience, that moment of knowing that you're looking at me for, you're looking at the wrong place. Look within. That is your doorway home. That was the point of this conversation. That is the point of the exchange, is to learn to step into that space, that doorway that brings you home, that joins your mind. That's what that experience is. It's a momentary alignment of self. And why? Because you are sitting in front of an energy that can help produce it. How mystical. Let's break that down. What difference is that between spirituality and learning music?
None.
And let's add a third, learning to cook.
None.
What would happen if the person that wants to learn music was sent to study with the person that knows how to cook? And the person that wants to learn how to cook is set with before the spiritual one. And the one that was learning spirituality is set before the musician. None of them learn what they wish. You step within the vibration of that which you need to learn. The opportunity of sitting before someone like us is a rarity. It is not common. It is not common. And today, there are many waking up to channel. They are popping up all over the place. That does not mean they have the clarity to vibrate the tuning fork as of yet. They will learn. They will learn. But the appropriate, in our opinion, method would be to teach you the tuning fork, to show the source of that knowing, to remind you that which you already are, the point of the lesson, the point of the transpersonal astrology, is to create that moment of transpersonal, not astrology. Astrology is the modality. Transpersonal is the result. The tuning fork goes off.
Hey, woman.
And you point them home. Why? Because that is what they are learning to hear. That is what they are here to remember. That is what they are here to experience. And to complete the tuning fork explanation, when your tuning fork goes off, the waves of energy travels through the piece of paper. What happens to the iron filings when they receive that vibration from the tuning fork? Basic science. Although, according to today's educational system and value of it, this may be a college course for some. So we will answer. The answer is the iron filings rearranged to the pattern of the vibration of the tuning fork.
When the tuning fork goes off, the thoughts and emotions rearrange and acquiesce. This is part of the lesson that you were getting at. You can't rearrange thoughts and emotions to try to fix a situation. The intellect can't solve this. It's the connection in the state of being, which allows the tuning fork to go off, and they acquiesce and rearrange. And when you see how easily they shift, you know thoughts and emotions are reactionary agents. Nothing more.
Exactly. And we will bring your attention to one very important point. This is important one very important point. Thoughts and emotions are reactionary agents. So what was the difference? On one level, they were reacting to the intellect and the vibrations around that the intellect, the self, was experiencing. So they're in constant disarray. They were fulfilling their purpose. What was the energy moving through them?
May I answer that?
Please.
And when you talked, I just saw the intellect as like an antenna to the external world, picking up what we call conditioning, nothing more than the state of quote-unquote physicality. That's all the intellect is, hence it's a tool. It's an antenna to calibrate to the world we have. And so when we mistake the intellect for the quote-unquote knowing, the thoughts and emotions arrange to fit the frequency of the external world, of other people, the group mind, if you will. That just clicked into place. It's like the intellect, I'm just an antenna to receive the influence out.
Exactly. Now, let's go through with the other example. The tuning fork is going off. What were the thoughts and emotions reacting to?
The vibration of that state of being. And
Correct.
Arranging to make quote-unquote sense of that.
Correct. So the thoughts and emotions don't need to be healed.
Mm-mm.
They're doing exactly what they are supposed to do. All of this information of my painful past, the trauma of it. And while that is insulting to people of a certain mindset that is just beginning to understand trauma, our apologies. We don't mean to make your pain insignificant. We are talking about a larger point of view. So please understand that. But when you get to the point of understanding consciousness from multiple levels, all of that trauma is simply the world's vibration of reality, the intellect, the ego, lie upon lie upon lie upon lie. So you don't go through the streets screaming in madness. That you get to pick up a loaf of bread. You get to pick up the kids. You get to go ahead and come home and have a meal. You go to work. You go to a social event. You go to church. Even though there's a part of you screaming through all of it. Screaming. You get to cope through it. All of that is what's the sponsoring energy moving through the thoughts and emotions. There's nothing wrong with them. They don't need to be healed. What is required is an alignment. And the point of this conversation, Monsour, between us has been to have the tuning fork go off and have you realize that is my source. There is no other. And we come back to the original question. Monsour Dragonsbane Magir, you are standing in a supermarket and you have a moment of being connected. And you could feel the energy of the air around you, the trees outside, the fact that it is not limited and extended. You feel your brothers and sisters around you, and there's nothing but peace. What does that say about your true state of mind?
It is nothing more than, I don't know how to say it, but just a source It's expansive, it's infinite, it's multi-whatever. It's anything in that moment.
Thank you.
It's, gateway, I don't know, the words don't have it, but it's this.
And you don't need words, just the willingness to experience it. That it is the truth. And the question before you, and then we will sharpen our message. The question before you is, out of all the vastness you experienced of the intellect that reaches into this world, has it given you an answer? Has it given you something satisfactory? Have you truly found anything?
Reprieves, moments of reprieve. Nothing more. Nothing that satiates that hunger.
How about when that moment in a supermarket when you were connected?
Nothing. It's just...
And that is a choice before you. Which is your reality? Which is your true source of mind? Are you ready to stop playing with the toys? Is the question, and has been the question. And we have said before, and we'll say again, if you're not done playing with the toys, our advice is to play with them wholeheartedly. If you enjoy eating ice cream at 3 o'clock in the morning, as our son did last night, twice,
So proud of him.
then eat it. Enjoy it. Live it fully. It's what it's here for. And eventually, you'll put down the toy. Not because you're spiritually supposed to, because it will no longer fascinate you. You'll become bored with the expression. And after enough times of becoming bored with the continual expressions of life, it's not like it's entirely creative. You go to your therapist for the same trauma over and over again. Different jobs, different relationships, different places to live, different cars, different kids. And it always comes back to the same traumas. How boring. And to call it life. To think this is what God gifted you. What a rotten gift. Can we return it? Where's the receipt? It's boring. But until you reach that state of being, that dissatisfaction, and we said it in a previous meeting, what is the purpose of this? What is the purpose? Until you reach that dissatisfaction, you don't become willing to look at those moments, and you all have them. Oh, but God forbid you don't actually look at them. You call them weird because you wouldn't want to seem out of sync with your brothers and sisters that are currently experiencing life on this level. That is why you could not answer us during the first set of lessons. It is why we stopped asking you the question. Because you weren't ready to put down the toys. And you went through the growth period of the dissatisfaction. And we constantly reminded you, the observer self in dissatisfaction creates a funny face. You need compassion to loosen that up. You don't get that from the intellectual level. It comes from the knowing. But until you're willing to say that is your true state of mind, and give it the loyalty that you give the trauma and the drama, to give it your attention, it can't speak with you. Now, this is our point. Back to the original question, the original point of this discourse. Our issue with the way things are being taught to our brothers and sisters, what we would wish to bring your attention to is that all of the teachings drop a truth. Monsour, just choose another reality. Change your thoughts. What could you change without the power of the tuning fork vibrating through the thoughts and emotions? Mm-hmm. If it's only the intellect vibrating through those thoughts and emotions and the chaos of the world around it, how could you choose a new thought? Mm-hmm. That's impossible. It's like telling someone that knows algebra, just do trigonometry. That will get you your clearer answer. Next question. Mm-hmm. You don't know how to do trigonometry. And here's the key that we wish to make to our brothers and sisters. The teachings of today tell you to go after the truth, that truth is the focus. Simply merge into a new reality, and you won't be affected. You don't have control over that option. You can't make that change. But do you know what happens when you align yourself and reach the point that Monsour just did? We wish to make this clear because this is 6 years in the making. We asked him that question during the first set of lessons. No, that was in the emotional body.
Mm-hmm. The first set of lessons.
Was it?
It was like, yeah, it was.
Thank you. So we're going back to the very beginning. And he couldn't answer it. And if you watched his journey, which is the point for people that are watching, to have this conversation in conversation format, not a lecture, is so that you get to watch him grow. You get to watch him get stuck. You get to watch him make horrible mistakes. And you get to watch his wondrous successes. You got to watch a mind unfurl. From the bottom of the mud to the lotus blossom. And we're not going ahead and putting you on the level of an archangel yet. The petals still need to unfurl. But you are ready to finally catch the light. And that is saying something. To accomplish that in one life, one moment, is accomplishing something. To come to this point, to be able to clearly state what your true nature is. The dedication to it, not yet, it will come. The tiger has tasted blood. And so now there'll be major physical changes. And no, hate to disappoint, not DNA resequencing. Our point is that none of the truths being taught is possible by the intellect. There has to be the connection. And here is the real secret, our brothers and sisters. We go back to the principle of saying there are multiple realities happening side by side. Just choose a different reality. If you are connected, you don't need someone to tell you that. You will know how to do that automatically. Manifestation. Just manifest what you need. If you were connected, manifestation is the side effect. You don't need to focus on it. You being connected will automatically make it happen. Healing. oh, it's just going ahead and taking the physical body and raising its vibration to this level. If you were connected, you wouldn't need someone to tell you that. You would know to do that automatically. It would be the side effect. What is it? And this is the point of disillusionment. We want people to truly understand how you're getting the wool pulled over your eyes. Why we say the statement, you are unlimited, as I express it to a limited being. You are creative, as I give my information uncreatively. You are being lied to. You are being lied to. Because you're being given options that you can't reach. Maybe by some miracle path, you're at that point of actualization, and that is the very thing you needed to hear. And the petals unfurl. What about the rest of your brothers and sisters? Mm-hmm. What about those who are trying to intellectually grasp what is being taught and continue failing at it and not being told why? Our point to you from the beginning of our discourse was that we would tell you the truth, and that we would tell you on the level that you are at. And so we have kept our premise. The wool over your eyes is that you are not being taught the option of connection, first and foremost, on some false ideology of free will. And we ask each of our brothers and sisters in physicality, if you knew the option existed, if the tools were clearly laid down before you and expressed, and you were taught how to use them, would you not pick up the tools and try? It's fine if you say no. At least you had the option given to you. At least you had the option given to you. And we will pause. Our son's body needs to relieve itself again.
Are we done, or can I ask, or should I ask a question later? It would be simple. Oh, okay. Woo.
No, now it's going to flip back to you.
Flip back to me. Lick it, flip it. See you later. Bye. I was just paying for our storage unit too. I saw some texts.
All right. And so we continue. We wish to make one final point, and then we will open it for questioning. And we apologize that we are taking up what is normally our conversation space.
No, that's fine. This is perfect.
For this.
This is perfect.
But time is short. So, we wish to make a point, which is, we said clearly that you're having the wool pulled over your eyes. We went so far as saying you are being lied to. That is our perspective as your brother and sister. We come from that standpoint by knowing what you are worth. And when you know what you are worth, you will demand better. When you understand that which we said and the seriousness of it, of how you've been trapped in a room and told to find a corner in a round room, and for how long you've been kept there, you will realize why we say what we say. Know your worth. You are not to kowtow to these different energies. Rise up, my brothers and sisters, and be the glorious beings that you are. Connect, connect, connect. That is the point. And we bring it back to something we said within the first lessons. If you sit before us and we don't actually give you the answer to power the vehicle before you, if we don't discuss how to end fear, and don't teach, not only is it possible, but how to do that. The courses that we have laid out is to end fear. That's their point. That is their purpose. What does that mean? It means the intellect is no longer the leading part of the mind. It means the mind has been joined and healed. That ends fear. What causes fear? The mind being separated. Because you know the truth, but you can't connect. You don't remember how. And there's this whole understanding of a glorious purpose for this. And there is a point to that. Taking from a certain perspective of stepping backward, but not so much when you're in a driving seat. Are we right? Mm-hmm. We sit before you and address you on your level. See what you call important as important. Come down off the lofty mountain and visit the valleys. Merge with the traffic that you're merging with. Get jostled as you do for the purpose of communication. And we will circle back and say what we said to you in the beginning, except now we call it past tense. We laid each of the tools down before you. We explained each's purpose and how to use them, and how to put them into alignment. And it is now a matter of work. It is now a matter of attention. And we also said, any energy, whether physical or non-physical, that says statements that doesn't actually lead to an answer, but requires your attention, is doing what?
Harm. It's misleading. It's pulling on your attention.
For what reason?
It's hungry, I don't know.
To take your energy.
Mm-hmm.
What you give your attention to has your power to create. Mm-hmm. Take it back, my brothers and sisters. It belongs here, telling you to switch your reality and not tell you how to connect to actually have it happen. What is the point if we stood before you and gave you nothing but spiritual answers and spiritual truths?
I get bored.
But did not tell you the way to connect, to actually know that they are true. You don't need to know the spiritual truths. You are the spiritual truth. Connect, and it automatically flows through. Instead of channeling us, you channel you. You are complete. You are spirit in body, the point of the vehicle. You don't need us. You don't need your DNA resequenced. You don't need archangels. You don't need aliens. You need you. You always have. And you can't have you in completeness until you're willing to break the boundaries. come out of the room that was self-created, to allow the tuning fork to ring like a bell, to shed its light so much that the thoughts and emotions, doing their job, their proper function, rearrange into the pattern of the energy so that the two become so similar that the piece of paper disappears and they join into one. Telling you a highfalutin truth of like attracts like will not get you there. The purpose of the expression was to vibrate the tuning fork, to show you what you already know, and to point that way. You are the light you are witnessing. And when it rings true, we, as your brothers and sisters, get to watch another piece of God unfold and experience being, the beauty of it. That is the point of the path. Take your powers back, brothers and sisters, and know your worth. Demand more. Demand better. What is the way to end fear? Period. And now, we open it back up to questions.
You talked about a while ago the age of ego, or the experiment of the ego. I'm guessing that falls in line with an experiment in fear. When did that start historically?
Historically?
Yeah.
Not within a time frame that you would know. Consciously within this earth. This earth has destroyed itself several times.
So it wasn't like Industrial Revolution or Abrahamic times. It was like eons ago.
In fact, we would say and point out, all of you are ready for a greater understanding of trauma and drama. Let us look at your history. You have Atlantis. And we made artificial lives. We miscreated. We did sinful actions. And it all came tumbling down. We have Lemuria. Same thing. Mu, same thing. Some type of physical disaster to wipe it clean.
Were they humans like us or humanoidish?
Humanoidish.
Okay.
But all of it was you.
Us, okay.
All of it was you.
So this whole experiment's going on way before our current recorded history.
Yes.
Okay.
They have discovered footprints that are older, that mud that turned into stone, than humans were supposed to be recorded here. Mm-hmm. And so you go back farther than you realize. But our point is not the physicality. Our point is the trauma and drama. What is the one thing that historians say in wisdom about history? It repeats itself. Is this not true? Mm-hmm. It certainly is right now. It is repeating itself. And why is it always similar? What difference of this is than Atlantis? Oh, the technology might have been more advanced. But what's the difference? The technology now is more advanced than it was back in World War II. What's the difference? The trauma and the drama is the same. It's been the same. When it was planet Egon, it was the same. And it got destroyed. Mars, the same, and it got destroyed. Over and over and over and over again. You build your civilization to a point, destroy it, and then start over. And we've made the point from the beginning. Is it necessary? Is it necessary to destroy what you created and go through all of that struggle again to get to this point? What does it matter? Every time you get to this point, you destroy it and start over. What is it that you think you're doing wrong that you need to start over? What is it that you're repeating? What do you en masse need to heal for trauma and drama? You look at it as time periods, the Atlantean time period, the Lemurian time period, the Mu time period. And we have said repeatedly, everything is happening now. What if, within that space of now, within your group consciousness, there is just one trauma and drama that you're dealing with? And you keep deluding yourselves by creating different expressions to try to work it out. Can you work out the trauma and drama, or are we dealing with the same thing we've already said? Iron filings on top of a piece of paper. What would happen if humanity as a whole decided we don't want to work out the trauma and drama? It hasn't led us anywhere. We want to awaken en masse. What would the iron filings collectively have no choice but to do?
Rearrange en masse.
And finally, humanity takes responsibility for itself.
So what motivated the switch to fear?
Fear is real simple. It's a side effect.
So what's the root?
The root is your disconnection.
Okay, cool. That's where I wanted to go with this. At what point did we start, because we talked about the child having to lower its frequency to resonate and connect, to adapt. At what point did that become the norm? You know, hence disconnect from source in order to resonate with the physicality.
You're looking at it in a linear way, and you're looking at it from a time period within the history that you know.
Well, okay, to clarify, did it all happened around, I know it's so hard to talk about it not in time, but so then back to the question, it's not so much when did fear start, it's more of what motivated why we had to disconnect in the first place. Where was that switch from connection to disconnection?
And that's
as a norm.
That's what we're trying to explain to you.
Okay.
As we were saying, you look at it from a linear perspective within your time frame to try to find an event, something that started it. Like, for example, the beginning of the Kali Yuga. And what we will tell you is that the environmental factors constantly shift and change. We have shared that as well as astrologically for the planets and asteroids, comets moving within the bodies, creating certain energetic pulls and influences, there is the dimensions. They're all happening now. So they travel within the same space. So when one that is of a, say, higher frequency travels through one that is lower, they affect each other. So the one that is lower raises and the one that is higher lowers. And physicality changes accordingly. How long does it take for that mass to move through each other? To what degree is it impacting? No different than astrology, just working within dimensions. It's all happening now. And so at that point, if it's the tip of those dimensions traveling through each other, effects not so extreme. What happens if they're moving straight through each other? Extreme. And within that, there will be physicality as far as experience will change because you react to that energy. What does that mean? It means that within your experience on this earth, there have been civilizations that you've been much more aware, much more connected. We'll point to the Native Americans and the Australians, the natives, who's still a connected race. And the Native Americans were wiped out and their connection broken as a mass of people. But they were a psychically connected race to this earth. That's modern times. When you take the technology and modern society out, the civilization, even in modern times, tends to be a connected one to the earth, to each other, to the animals. So it is a matter of it constantly shifts and changes. But our point that we wish to make is, where does humanity take responsibility for itself and in mass say we wish to awaken? We're done with the trauma and drama, because all of the different shifts, whether it was a connected race or a non-connected race. Let's look at the Native Americans, the connected race. They were giving the gift of the pipe and the 7 ceremonies from White Buffalo Calf Woman. God in physical form brought this to them. This great gift, this amplifier of intention. They call prayers. We call intention. I connect the male to the female to the male. The joining. The placing of the tobacco for the different directions into the pipe with intention. And I take a smoke. And I pray, I send my voice, so mote it be, to Wonkin Tonkin, great mystery, great spirit. And I say my intention. And what did they do with it before the whites came? They prayed for victory with their battles with each other. What arrogance to take a piece of God, reject it, shame it, guilt it, kill it, and send it back to God as rejected. All while holding the sacred pipe, the amplifier. What would be the karma there, we wonder? Oh, look, is that a ship coming to shore? Same trauma, same drama. Always being played out over and over and over again. Is it the life and the physicality of it that's important? Everyone thinks so, because that's how you write your histories. But what's really important, seeing it truly, it's the repetitiveness of the same trauma and drama. It doesn't matter what form you take. It doesn't matter if you're blue, or if you were slightly tinged green, or had a different DNA that was damaged, that was repaired by aliens so that you continue as a race. What does it matter? You're cycling through the same trauma and drama, the same lesson over and over and over again. When do you get tired of the movie? You've seen this one already. You know how it ends. When do you take responsibility and connect and say, as a consciousness, enough, enough. I wish to experience existence on this planet without the trauma and drama. I will end fear. That is the path that is before humanity. That is the choice. I will end fear, and we will commune in the grace. We go back to words we said in the beginning, the very beginning lessons with you. What is the possibility of love? How deep does that go? How could that be expressed? How can that joy extend? What could you do with your societies, the medical, the business, the store owners, expressing through love and allowing that energy to wash over the physicality of everything and transforming it in its own vision, in its own image? Think of the possibilities. But no, the trauma and drama. Wash, rinse, repeat. The form does not matter. There'll be a new form that will talk about the amazing technology of the Americas and how they fell from arrogance. Well, they start in the Dark Ages. And you begin the trauma again, living in fear, not taking responsibility for the light that you are, running from yourself. Adam, why are you still running? What are you running from? What do you hope to achieve? Stop running and accept the gift God created. Does that make sense and answer the question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have any other questions for me?
This is different. We like this.
Does David have the energy?
He is fine.
Okay.
Why are you here?
What I know as of now is when I show up, things shift and change. Some people lovingly call it chaos. Some people lovingly call it ADHD. But there's always been a shakeup, a shift, a change. And what I can answer now confidently is introduce a new way of being. The best of my ability to look at the old, play with it, ask what if. And I can't deny that wherever I go, my mind shifts and changes as others do. So why am I here? I don't want to say here I'm here to wake people up. I'm here to demonstrate that it doesn't have to be the same. We can try something different. What if is a valid question. That's where I'm at right now. I don't have the specifics other than wherever I end up showing up, things change and shift. It's like it's refreshing. Because whenever I leave a space, there's always that comment of like, it's not the same, it's dead. There's like life that gets drained from it. So I don't know, re-spark life into stuff.
A very good answer.
But it changes and shifts as I meet people, interact, and gain experiences. So, my energy's crashing now.
Then we shall end the meeting.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this.
So did we, as always.
As always.
And now peace to you.
Thank you.